I'm going to build a replay mod for Bedrock's editor.
Why is no one talking about this?
Minecraft, a game which players build and break blocks to build various structures. And some people would make their own games within Minecraft, like a map, to let other players have fun. But creating a map has its own challenges.
I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this.
It was tedious, so map makers went out to make mods for Minecraft. These mods let us have more control over the game to make our games easier. Over the years, the mod World Edits made to assist in building structures, which becomes the most popular tools in map making. However, this mod was only made for Java Edition, which is available only to PC players. At the time, it was the only platform for Minecraft before Bedrock Edition releases. Since there wasn't a decent alternative to the World Edit mod, Mojang made an official world editing tool called the Bedrock Editor and released it as a public preview on March 2023.
Call me okay.
Now there are lots of Minecraft videos online. I watch a lot of them, and I came across Minecraft Machinima, a series of videos that uses Minecraft as an engine to record videos. In the past, we used many teleport commands to move the camera to make videos.
I see you with those 10,000/TP commands.
Another method was to have two devices. One pretends to be an actor and one pretends to be a cameraman to make videos. This process is very inefficient. Then Mojang decided to add the camera system in Bedrock Edition. This lets us to use commands to move the camera without teleporting the player. The camera can do basic things like set location, rotation, and some easing functions between 2 points. This was around the time Editor API was released to the public, so I decided to make an editor extension around the camera feature. So I started making Cinematic Editor in 2023. Yes, I made this mod before making this video. The goal was to extend Bedrock's camera capabilities to make cinematic videos in-game, like replay mod on Java. Using my mod, you can make and modify keyframes in a scene, modify camera's transition easily, and export the scene to be used outside of the editor. It's a really basic camera tool. Since the release of my editor video, it has got some people's attention. Some people like the mod, others, well, not so much. Now this would have been the end of the development, until one day, I received a notification from Discord. The cinematic editor caught the attention of some Mojang developers. They gave me some feedback, I mean a lot of feedback. And it was clear, it's time to work on this tool again. It's been 2 years since I touched any of the code in my editor extension. Since then, both the editor and its API ran through many changes. As expected, you can't get away with the boring process of writing the entire app. Despite that, I managed to get something done. Here's a list of things of what I want to add into the editor mode. The first one being the keyframe effect. There are multiple effects in the camera system. The fade feature, which will cause a full screen fade like what the player sees when sleeping in a bed. Since the fade behavior is already implemented in the game, I only added a GUI panel to modify the fade properties with an effect in the keyframe. This includes fade in, fade hold, fade out time, and fade color. 2. Running commands at a specific timestamp known as frame time. This allows you to run commands when you reach a specific timestamp. Implementing this feature wasn't easy, because in order to move the camera along with showing camera effects, multiple timelines have to be created and run at the same time. Since you can add multiple effects into a keyframe, and they're dependent on each other, all the fields must be updated when you switch a keyframe or an effect, which could be laggy, and the function for updating all the fields is quite massive. There's probably a better way to do this. This is the next thing I want to make. I want to use the client widget system to make the camera path. Within the system, there are these markers called widgets by itself, which you can move them and the program will respond to those interactions in some way. As you can see, it's hard to visualize how the camera moves by seeing a list of coordinates. I can also delete a scene by removing all the keyframes using widgets. The client widget system was released on August 2024, which was before I started remaking the cinematic editor. I remember trying this feature for the first time, and it worked first try. Then I took a break from making Minecraft mods. When I realized how widgets can be used to render the camera path, I booted up Editor again to make this feature. Unfortunately, things did not go the way I wanted, because upon loading the editor to experiment this feature, the editor crashes when I try to reload the game. The reload command reloads the script files without restarting the entire game, which saves a lot of time making mods. The crash occurs continuously for multiple Minecraft preview versions. One of the Mojang developers reached out to me to further investigate this issue. They said they would look into it. So once in a while I will boot up editor mode. Still, editor crashes when it reloads. And this demotivated me from working on this project for a few months. I decided to reach out the same Mojang developer again, but they couldn't replicate the crash. Well, we don't know what's the real cause of the crash. I then tried resolving this issue myself by removing any custom editor extension that I installed, which I found the Bedrock editor itself still crashes when we load. Since the core editor is also made of an extension pack like mine, I then tried removing bits of code from the core editor extension, and surprisingly, the editor didn't crash when I pressed the reload button. This is the starting point. All I need to do was to figure out which line of code caused the crash, and I landed on this conclusion. Adding the widget group crashes the clients when we load. After I gave this report, they couldn't replicate the crash, and then I abandoned this project again. Around this time, Bedrock Editor was released as an open beta, which means people can try Minecraft Editor for the first time.
Let's try this thing.
This is the time for the tool to get a lot of attention from the public, and perhaps bring new people to the editor space. A week after its public release, the channel for discussing Editor is very inactive. We're talking 5 messages a day in a Discord server with over 1 million people. It wasn't as hype as when Editor was launched to preview back in 2023.
I would go as far as to say it's the most powerful building tools Minecraft has ever released. In fact,
The excitement from the hardcore faded away. In fact, there were many advertisements from Mojang, except Minecraft's creator channel, which many add-on creators already knew about the editor mode since its alpha release. Also, I also said that I will make a video about Mojang devs rigrolling in the editor's source code, and I actually never made that video before, so never mind it. On top of that, there were only 2 videos with over 1 million views, which showcases the Bedrock editor. In Phoenix SC's video, he mentioned that the editor is functional, but sadly there were some issues with the editor that we can't ignore.
Alright, still repeater tool. Tool for repeating a selection volume. Can I apply this 100 times? Or is that just too much?
The amount of lag in this, but I kinda expected.
I've selected 100, 100, 100. If I press delete, what happens? Nothing.
Yeah, turns out you can't just delete more than 100 blocks in each direction at a time. This was the first thing I did when I tried Editor for the first time, and it absolutely devastated me. Oh, come on! You can do 99, but not 100. Okay, it's kinda ironic considering you can do that with the repeater tool. He also mentioned a Java mod called Axiom as a better alternative. But what is Axiom? Axiom is basically a world editing tool from Java, with more advanced features than Bedrock Editor, because modding on Java is more extensible than Bedrock. You can remove hundreds of millions of blocks with mods in Java, but you can't in Bedrock. The Java community has already created camera editing tools like the replay mod and flashback, where you can record your footage in-game and move the camera in its edit mode. I used both raw edit and replay mod before, and they are brilliant tools. You might ask, why am I making this for Bedrock? 1. It's easier to mod Bedrock than Java in my opinion, mainly because I got comfortable with Bedrock's ecosystem. 2. I want to see how far I can push Bedrock's limits. As you can see, Bedrock's modding capabilities has improved a lot over time. Action and Stuff resource pack is a great example, but I don't think it's going to be as extensive as Java in the future. 3. Accessibility, which is very ironic considering that Bedrock Editor is only available on Windows, on an edition of the game which has native support on many devices. But I can just easily release this as a standalone add-on without depending on the editor game mode. In fairness to Mojang, I would think it's quite hard to add editor support for other devices since the whole thing is best to be used with mouse and keyboard. While I was still hoping to use editor without crashes, I stopped using the editor mode and left. Why am I doing this? Occasionally, I visited the Bedrock editor Discord and it's very quiet. However, I believe this bug affects other people too, and it can be fixed. Then an idea came to my head. Debugging the game itself. Now, debugging Minecraft is a challenging process, and usually when the app crashes, the app throws a not so useful error message. But this time, the app actually throws an error related to this. From the surface, it seems like an error related to Windows. So I asked other people with older versions of Windows to replicate this issue, and they couldn't. We narrowed the issue to occur in only Windows System 24H2, which the update was released in October 2024, which was about the time that editors started to crash constantly. So we reported this bug to Mojang in February 2025, and 3 weeks later, we got Minecraft 12170. Let's try this. It's been 3 months. Wait, did they fix the bug? Oh my god, they fixed the real bug! Yes! We do occasionally fix stuff, no guarantees that we don't break 10 other things, I don't care honestly. They fixed it. 3 months after the initial crash, I was so happy that they fixed the bug. Now that I can mod the editor again, the project continues by displaying the camera path. Not gonna lie, it was a bit challenging to get the widgets work, mainly because the entire editor API is not well documented. Luckily, the Mojang developers stepped in and gave me some examples on using this system. To create a camera path, I created widgets for each keyframe, then linked the first widget which represents the first keyframe with the other widgets, which respectively representing other keyframes. Each widget uses a linear spline, along with adding a text component and a gizmo component. We now have a widget which displays position of the keyframe, and the widget which can be moved to change the location of the keyframe. There's one thing I'm not satisfied with the Minecraft's default camera system. It's not about the keyframes, which everyone wants by default. It's interpolation. In the context of cinematic editor, it makes the camera movements smoother. This is a method used in many movies, and it creates a smoother motion. You might be wondering how I discovered this. It's from Replay mod. It has path interpolation, which is pretty much what I'm trying to achieve with this mod. Upon researching about Romeos spline, let me show you the math behind the system used in the extension. And as you can see, it's as easy as 1, 2, 3. From there, all I need to do was to create a camera path which the camera system supports Hermite spline. To enhance this feature, you can choose to whether use linear or Hermite interpolation in the editor panel for adjacent keyframes. There's also a subdivision properties which determines the smoothness of the camera motion between multiple points, which you can really just try it out yourself. And finally, I can utilize the widget to its full potential for this camera tool. To wrap this editor extension, I want to add one last feature, changing the field of view or FOV. I want to add this feature for a very long time since someone can tell me that Minecraft added the ability to change FOV using commands. I looked at the latest changelog at the time and they actually did, which is very cool. I want to add this feature for a very long time since each scene might use a different FOV to narrate the story. Upon testing the new FOV feature on the camera system, For some reason, running the FOV command seems to have some sort of delay when running another camera instruction. I figure I can do some really heavy workarounds, but I'm not really interested in doing that. So I did the next best thing, a camera simulation. Basically, adding a camera object so you don't have to use your actual camera to visualize the camera movement. I want the mod to create a rectangular object which simulates the field of view. To do that, we need a few inputs. The user screen's width and height, and its FOV from the settings page. From there, the program finds its horizontal and vertical FOV based on the following formulas. For some reason, Bedrock Edition uses arbitrary numbers to set the FOV. If you multiply Bedrock FOV by 1.1, it seems to do the job. Why? I have no idea. Then, using its horizontal and vertical FOV, we can determine coordinates of corners that the screen can see and simulates the camera. Which is very simplistic, but it will be improved in the future. At this point, we saw how much stuff we can do with this editor. But I was wondering if this lets me to create an actual scene without using an editor program. What did I do? I downloaded a map which says to be a replica of Silverstone Circuit from Formula 1. Instead of an F1 car racing, it's boat racing because Minecraft doesn't have cars without mods. I then used this mod to record me driving in a boat in a racetrack. Now originally, I thought I would do really well in ice boat racing, but it didn't go well. Here's how I did. I think that looks kinda cool. I also showcased this in Bedrock Addon's Discord, and the response is, well, first of all, 41 upvotes, that's more than anybody else's, I will take that. But this editor extension and this phase is nowhere like those popular Java mods. It took way too much of my time to make that scene, because recording Minecraft gameplay is incredibly difficult. That feature is incredibly broken, to a point that it's not even in the extension. Why is the player not in the boat? Besides that, there's also a lot of features that I want to add, but there's only so much that you can do with the API, meaning I have to make my codebase incredibly complex to maybe add one single feature, which is very exhausting. Don't even get me started on Mojang making their own cinematic tool. That means I now have a competitor. This is gonna be interesting.